Our world is full of mysterious and spooky places. Cemeteries, chapels, abandoned cities, and hospitals. Do you think that only foreign countries have such places? Russia is huge, and there are more such places than in any other country. Let's take a walk, shall we? 1. Devil's Cemetery. Devil's Graveyard is a circular bare glade with a diameter of 250 meters. It is located in the middle of the taiga, 100 kilometers from the confluence of the Kova River into the Ingar. It is noteworthy that there is no vegetation in the glade, and the trees around it are charred, as if a fire raged there. According to one version, the Tunguska meteorite fell here, not in the Pakamanai-Tunguska area. In the 20s and 30s of the last century, cattle often wandered into the clearing. And they died. Locals had to pull it out with hooks, because they were afraid to go to the glade themselves. Meat of the fallen cattle was abnormally red in color. It is believed that people also died here. Before the Great Patriotic War, several hundreds of people died near on the glade. It is not recommended to walk there, to put it mildly. 2. Butcher's Pine Forest. Meat Pine Forest, aka the Valley of Death, is located in the Novgorod region. Finding this place is not easy. Now it is overgrown with forest, swamped, and only the remnants of the wartime railroad lead to it. At first glance, there's nothing creepy about Myasny Bor. But there is a story. During the Great Patriotic War, tens of thousands of soldiers, both Russian and German, died here. The remains are still not buried. It is said that one can find terrible wartime artifacts here. Bayonets, helmets, bones, and skulls. 3. Sanatorium Energia. Building. The ruins of the abandoned sanatorium are located 15 kilometers from the Moscow Ring Road. The sanatorium used to be considered almost a work of art. A park was laid out in the yard, sculptures were installed. The building itself used to be a beautiful two-story building. And from the outside it still seems like an ordinary building, except that a little repair wouldn't hurt. Inside, the picture is different. There's trash lying around everywhere, the windows are broken out. In the rooms, broken furniture, tattered old books and photos. Now the building is almost ruined, and half of it burned down, and in this part even the walls are almost gone. 4. Kadichtan Settlement in the Magadan region. Kadichtan, translated from meaning Death Valley, was built in 1943. In this place at a depth of 400 meters the highest quality coal was found. Until 1996, several thousand people lived in the village. During Stalin's times there was even one of the Gulag camps. And in 1996 there was an explosion at the mine, and people began to leave. By 2006, 791 people remained in the village. After another couple of years, only 400. They refused to leave, but in 2003 the authorities decided to close the unprofitable village, and close the only boiler house in town. It became impossible to live in the city, and the Kadichkans left. The authorities did not consider it necessary to evacuate the residents. Now Kadichkan is a ghost mining town. There are books and furniture in the houses, broken benches and monuments in the streets. 5. Finval Cove, an abandoned naval submarine base. The cove is located in the city of Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky. 54. The official name of the bay is Bechevinskaya, but because of secrecy it was renamed Finval. Earlier submarines were stationed here. Since 1971 the squadron has repeatedly changed, until in 1996 it was decided to close the base. All the property was taken out, the power and water supply was cut off. Simultaneously with the base, the missile settlement of Shiponskoye was also closed. Only abandoned houses remained. Submarines were moved to another bay. 6. Abandoned Navy training base on Ruskia Island. The military unit 25108 was disbanded in 2001. Ruskia Island has long had the status of a closed territory. During Soviet times there were many military camps. In fact, the island was the largest training base of the Soviet Navy. In 1993, 4 soldiers of the Pacific Fleet died of starvation, and another 250 sailors were hospitalized with a diagnosis of dystrophy. The main military prosecutor's office initiated a criminal case. The investigation was conducted until 1998. Only Chief Midshipman Vitrushchak, in whose house foodstuffs stolen from the warehouse were found, was punished. The rest of the people involved got away with fines. Now the unit is disbanded and abandoned, and inside the buildings there are remnants of furniture and soldiers' equipment. Some jokers sometimes decorate the buildings by hanging up cloak tents, so that from the outside it looks like a man is dangling in the noose. 7. Soblinsky Caves. The cave system originated from coarse sand mining from the 18th to the 20th century. In 1922, the mines closed and the caves were abandoned. Soblinsky Caves until the end of the 1970s were a classified object. Back then, fugitive prisoners were hiding in the catacombs, and every year 10 people disappeared in these places. Bandits, quicksand, and collapsed corridors were all to blame. But attempts to capture the bandits entrenched in the caves were useless. The Sublinsky Caves stretched for several kilometers, and it was impossible to look for anyone in the natural labyrinths. In the 1980s, the caves were home to 200 people living in communities. Now there are no more active underground groups, and the creepy Sublinsky Caves have turned into a tourist attraction. Tour of the safe part of the caves costs only 600 rubles. Tourists are not allowed into the unsafe part. 8. Death Valley in Kamchatka. Death Valley in Kamchatka was discovered in 1975. The corpses of animals and birds are often found here. Animals died because of the high concentration of poisonous gases hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide and carbon disulfide. Animal carcasses in this place remain unusually long, and do not decompose even in the open air. The poisonous atmosphere suppresses the oxidative processes caused by bacteria. People here, too, should not stay for long. Scientists and tourists after the Valley of Death suffer from headaches, fever, dizziness and general weakness. But if you leave the dangerous place in time, you'll be back to normal pretty quickly. Walking through this natural hell not for the faint-hearted. Very high chance of running into the corpses of careless animals. People usually manage to get away. 9. Kovrinskaya Hospital in Moscow. Kovrinskaya Hospital began construction in 1980 on the site of a cemetery. 5 years later, construction stopped and the huge unfinished building was abandoned. Now the basements are flooded, and the building is slowly sinking underground. The place has become covered with numerous urban legends. Thrill seekers come here, of course, it's a gateway to the otherworldly world right in the middle of Moscow. 10. Submarine Sanctuary in Pavlovsk. The construction of the shelter began in the 1960s. Construction went on for 20 years, but stalled in the 1980s, and the base was never finished. All concrete work was completed, only the interior decoration was left to be done. But in 1991 the United States and the Soviet Union signed a Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty, and the Pavlovsk submarine base in Primorsky Krai was included in the list of facilities that the USSR pledged to close. The asylum is creepy. Its central part is 2 parallel tunnels connected by passageways. Both tunnels, so huge that a submarine could easily enter there, are flooded with water. There are a total of 8 entrances to the shelter. It is difficult to estimate its true size. Many passages are submerged, and it is not known where they lead. Yes, one more thing. There are sources of radiation and high radiation background on the territory of the military unit, so it is better not to walk here without a special suit.